it was a bit more complicated because I was busy with my baby, and also I had a little postpartum depression. So I needed to put things on the side, and I actually needed to write, to go back to the origins of my art. Because before using ink and lines, I used to write and be a poet. I started with poetry. At some point, I felt blocked by verbal language. Sometimes you don't have the right word, or sometimes the vocabulary, is maybe not precise enough. So I started to do lines. I felt that in France, being an artist was complicated. I was not comfortable with the idea of saying I was an artist. And I had the opportunity to go to New York City. Over there, I started to allow myself to be really an artist and call myself an artist. And I had my first art shows over there. And I had the chance also to have some of my works in a gallery in Brooklyn. And then I came back to France, and it was easier because being in New York, being French was like a pass. And people were like, oh, you're a French artist, come. And then coming back to France, being like, oh, I had my first show and gallery in Brooklyn. It's like, oh, come and have something as well. And then everything started. I felt in a way more free in New York City. And there's this excitement of, something like free mind, and you can be a bit like Berlin. And I think there's this kind of energy I felt in New York City, and especially Brooklyn. We're like, let's make it happen. You can do it. My work is about translating my emotion or my perceptions of what life is. I think in a way I pushed verbal languages a bit away, and I had forgotten to find a way to talk about my work. And it was like when I meet people, it's like, oh, what's your art about? And I was like, and then I said, yes, what's my art about? And it helped me to have a real process of thinking. To me, in my work, meeting people is really the point, because this is how I discover a country or a city, is through the people. Most of the time, not with a map, not with a book. I just follow the people I meet. I think going away is also a way to clear your mind. And eventually, when I came back to France, things were easier for me. And I find these opportunities again. It's like, oh, I would never have known this could happen. And I had art shows, a gallery, and opportunities as well. Berlin was in my life all the time. First time I came, I was 18. It was with a class trip. I already felt this energy of freedom. It was something magical. It was like, I wouldn't speak a word of German. And it was, wow, there's something happening here. And I came back many times, and I had art shows here, and it was really exciting. And I could tell I could find a similar energy than the one I found in Brooklyn. Free spirit, opportunities, meeting people, really the thing that happens over there that was also happening here. There's also something, when I moved to another city or country for a little while, I can't draw. I'm just watching all around me, talking to people, meeting people, and it's like nurturing yourself, your soul, your mind, your senses. And it's only after a few weeks that I can, and every time I moved, I needed this time. And of course, before moving, I was like, it's okay, in 2 days I'll be back to work again, and it doesn't work. So it was autumn 2019. And by that time, I said to myself that I didn't want all these odd jobs to take over my life, because what life is about? Is it about working 80 hours a week, not to understand what you're living? And I said, okay, I'd rather have less, but do my work and make it happen. Well, since the last interview, big thing happened. I became a mother. I had a baby girl, and she just turned 4 years old. In this long time, there was a lot going on. I ended up living in the countryside for a little while, and I really went through the metamorphosis of becoming a mother. And regarding my artwork, I was able to work up until the delivery. And after, it was a bit more complicated because I was busy with my baby, and also I had a little postpartum depression.
So I needed to put things on the side, and I actually needed to write, to go back to the origins of my art. Because before using ink and lines, I used to write and be a poet. And so I worked for a few months on a journal about my feelings and my emotions with a friend of mine. And we made a book together with some art and some poetry about what is becoming a mother, being a mother, and all the struggles, and also the beauty we could meet within this. And so I'm just starting to blossom again in my artwork, and I'm happy because I feel reconnected to my inner space, to be able to translate again everything I care about within translating the beauty of the world in my lines. So it's actually a very, very exciting period of time for me. It's like you meet me at the exact moment I'm coming back. Within these past years, we went through so much recession, so much frustration, and it was as if it was besides my inner life with giving birth and being of course dedicated to your child, and as we moved in the countryside at the same time, it was a lot of frustration to move, to sleep, and to deal with the personal energy flow. Probably many artists go through that. I had a lot of guilt from, besides the guilt of being a mother that comes and stays, there's this guilt of not working and not being productive, not being creative. I mean, it's the biggest creation, a kid. But I was still feeling very guilty of not being at work, of not doing some things. And even if I made a book out of this period, I still felt very, very guilty of not doing more. And I realized afterwards that actually I couldn't, because I was not available mentally and energetically to create. You just assume that something changed, but you're still the same. And I think you change forever. And that's why also I'm very happy now that I can feel it's still me. I went through a struggling time about being in the present moment. I was, I think, panicking. lost in time and space. I had this obsession. I couldn't stand still. As a fear of the moment, as a fear of being here, as a fear of abandon myself to the moment or embrace the moment. It was like survival mode somehow. Step by step, I was able to connect to some moments, and now I feel much more anchored. I surprised myself to sometimes be here and not be here, and she really helped me to come back. She was showing me outside, the tree dancing in the wind. She was asking me to sit on a path and watch the branches and hear the birds and watch the clouds. And every time I had resistance first, and I thanked her so much because she was really a guide for me, like a lighthouse in the dark. I feel very lucky. I think we all changed so much within this past 6 years. So much to the point like we can barely remember who we were back then. I, at some point, felt I did nothing. I lost some self-esteem, physically, mentally, and regarding my artwork. And it was not up until I worked on my website again that I realized that I'd done things. I think I reconnected to my worth and some self-esteem to be able to go back to it and to come back and continue. After 3 years we spent in the countryside, I ended up missing the city so bad. We had the chance to come back to Berlin after 3 years, and I find again this freedom and this energy of creativity I find nowhere else in the world except here in Brooklyn. And as soon as I came back, I felt the urge to have time for myself and to go back to this, because I have a lot to say now. Well, first, it completely changed the process because I had to go with her schedule. I had to make mine depending on hers, and it made it hard to be able to have the good amount of time. It's not like a task you can do in a few minutes or just 1 hour. It's meditative, it's reflection, and it's this special time not to be interrupted and to be sure you're not interrupted. So when she finally started to go to Kita, and it changes everything because I have now 4 hours every morning to be able to work on my art. It's not forgetting about her, it's forgetting about everything else. I feel alive again. Recently I started to explore new shapes, new extensions, and the line starting to get out of the paper. It feels like it's a new start, a bit like when we met last time, because I was just arriving to Berlin and now I'm coming back. But this time feels very different. I feel home, definitely. And I think this time I'm not scared anymore. I don't feel I have things to prove. I think my success is to do it for myself and to share with others. I think I will do this for my life, whether there's someone to watch it or not. I think 5 years ago I was struggling to make it happen, and now, especially as my time is precious, I am more focused and I'm confident on what I'm doing. I know it takes time. I'm happy I finally find the best description of my work, and it's really like between this intuition, reflection, and to translate what's beneath the surface. So that's why the idea of the thread coming out as the line goes off of the paper is really something I'm curious about, because it's changing dimension. And maybe we're all changing dimension right now, you know?